And this is Ken Kraetzer for CaMMVetsmedia, another edition of our Army Football Huddle. Black Knights coming off a loss to North Texas. We'll travel for a Thursday night game at East Carolina in North Carolina. And I'm at West Point. We just covered practice. Team looked sharp. Talked a little bit with Coach Munkin. He talked about the challenges of a short work week to prepare the team. But let's introduce our participants tonight. We've got Chuck Donegan, our field reporter last week out on Long Island. Chuck, how are you?
Pretty good, Ken, though still smarting a bit from Saturday's painful loss, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it was a painful loss, but the team showed a lot of resiliency with a strong comeback to tie the game.
Absolutely.
In the fourth quarter. Okay, glad you're with us. And
to be here.
Let's see, we have Richard Miller in West Palm Beach, Florida. Richard, how are you?
Very well, Ken. Tough game. Now on to this game against East Carolina. Hopefully bouncing back with a win.
That's right. And from Huntsville, Alabama, in the Beat Navy studio, we have Colonel Sam Houston from the class of '87.
Hey, team. Yeah, this past week's game was definitely a showcase in the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. It was a game that Army got off to as bad a start as you can, down 21-0. UNT just took the opening kickoff, went 75 yards for a touchdown. Then they got the ball back, went 44 yards after a fumble on a pitch play. Short field, 44 yards for a touchdown. Then they got their third touchdown, going 18 yards after another turnover by Army. And it was down 21-0, but Briggs Bartosh got Army some life with an electric 75-yard run from scrimmage, running left through a big hole on the first play of the drive and scored. But then East Carolina scored on a 6-yard play to make it 28-7 after an interception. And so three turnovers put Army in a 21-7 hole. Black Knights came back with a 75-yard drive with Dwayne Coleman going in at quarterback and completed that drive, 17-yard pass to Samari Howard in the middle of the end zone. And then Army completed another 75-yard drive with a 37-yard rush by Hayden Reed. And so 28-21 in the third quarter. Going into the fourth, Army, another 75-yard drive behind Dwayne Coleman, 5-yard rush for the touchdown. North Texas came back, 21-yard rush by Hawkins, and that made the score 38-28. Army came back with a touchdown, a beautiful 68-yard touchdown pass from Dwayne Coleman to Brady Anderson. And that made it 38-35 with 2 minutes 56 left. And Army got a fumble recovery. And the most unexpected time you think you get a fumble recovery, they do after missing the onside kick. They get the fumble recovery, they go down the field, and on a fourth down, Dawson Jones, who I talked to tonight, did an interview, 23-yard field goal to tie it, and then Hawkins for North Texas got a touchdown in the first overtime, and Army failed the match, and that was the ball game. Colonel Sam Houston, tell us what was your impressions of Saturday's game?
Well, like I said in the intro, it was good and it was bad and it was ugly. The good about the game was Army never had to punt, and offensively, Army had their best offensive game of the season. And not once, even when they were turning the ball over, was Army failing to actually move the ball. As a matter of fact, every single time Army had the ball, they were moving it consistently. Unfortunately, those turnovers early on put Army into an uncharacteristic hole. To wit, by the second quarter, they were down 28-7. So essentially, you spotted a 21-point lead in the second quarter before you finally stop the turnover parade and start actually putting some serious points on the board. So from the moment the game was 28-7 forward to the end of regulation, Army outscored North Texas 31-17. So it wasn't a question of whether or not the offense had the ability to put yardage up, to move the ball consistently, to score points, to go toe for toe with UNT offensively. And, the numbers speak for themselves. Army's offense had two rushers with 100 yards plus. That was Coleman and Reed. And then Bartosh had 99. And then you had three other ball carriers who actually had touches, including Noah Short. So the ball was being dispersed. The passing game was reasonably effective. But then we look at the bad. The bad was the fact that the defense was unable to get North Texas off the field. And uncharacteristically, and I understand this about a Nate Woody defense. Nate Woody's defensive scheme is simple. Stop the run first, and then effectively pressure the passing game. Well, Army did neither. They did not stop the run. As a matter of fact, at no time in the game did Army stop the run. As a matter of fact, North Texas scored 5 touchdowns running the ball. I think that's probably the most touchdowns rushing that's been scored against a Monken team in the entire Monken era. Now, I haven't researched that, but I would have a suspicion that if it's not, it's close. But it's not just that they were running the ball consistently against Army. They were running the same play constantly. It was a delayed draw up the middle. And for whatever reason, Army had no answer. And my assessment of why that was is because Army's defense had no control of the line of scrimmage. They were getting pushed around. Blockers were already blocking at the second level on Army's linebackers and defensive backs. And the runners were already 5 yards downfield before they were even hit the first time. Here comes the next bad, tackling. Kansas State game was a clinic on tackling. I think Monken mentioned in the post game from the Kansas State game a stunning statistic that throughout the game, Army had only missed 3 tackles. I think Army missed at least 3 tackles on every play against North Texas. It was ridiculous. A North Texas ball carrier, whether they received a pass or they were rushing the ball, would make first contact, probably 3 or 4 yards down the field, and they would gain at least 4 or 5 more yards before they were finally brought to the ground. And it was extremely frustrating. And it was extremely uncharacteristic of a Nate Woody coach defense. And I'm not sure what the issue was with tackling, but maybe it was just because of the bye week. The players, maybe they had a little bit of a hangover. They weren't ready. They lost some momentum from Kansas State. Maybe they didn't take North Texas seriously. I don't think it was that. But they never, ever really got control of North Texas's offensive scheme. And North Texas seemed to be one step ahead of them on almost every single play. It was almost as though the North Texas offensive coordinator was in Nate Woody's head. And it was very unfortunate. Now, that being said, Army did make some plays when they needed to. You pointed out the fumble that was caused with just under 3 minutes to go in the game. After a failed onside kick, literally at that point, Army had used all of their timeouts. All North Texas had to do was get a first down, and they could have run the clock out. But first contact, I think Andon Thomas made the hit, and Caleb Fortner made the recovery, and Army's back in business. And this is where I got confused. And I watched the Monken press conference afterward, and honestly, I did not see anybody who was in the press conference ask him directly this question. I'm going to get to it. And that is, on that last drive, Army moved the ball at will. North Texas was pretty smoked. Their defense, they looked like Kansas State's defense towards the end of the Kansas State game. They were smoked. And Army's offense was suddenly moving big chunks of yardage on the ground. The only problem Army had was they didn't have any timeouts left. But when you get inside 2 minutes, the new NCAA rule is that when you make a first down, the clock stops and it does not restart until the snap of the ball. Army picked up a first down with 24 seconds to go on the 6-yard line. And they did so on about a 7-yard run. On first down, no timeouts, but the clock is stopped. Army spiked the ball. I immediately looked around and said, why? Why not? Why did you spike the ball? Run the damn ball. Run the damn ball. Either run a midline, run a trap play, or run a jet sweep. Run something. Because North Texas was on their
Dan, which
heels.
down was this on?
First and goal from the 6 with 24 seconds to go, and the clock was stopped. They spiked the ball. Dwayne Coleman came to the line of scrimmage and spiked the ball on first down. And the question everyone was asking, especially me, where we were watching it, was, why did he do that? North Texas was on their heels. Run the ball. Run the ball. If you do not make the touchdown, you can spike it on second down. But I bet you're going to be in better position. If you didn't score on that first down play, you're going to be in better position to get the ball in the end zone because you're going to be a lot closer to the goal line. So I don't know. That was a baffling call. We saw what happened. Army then passed the ball on 2 consecutive plays. One of those was a very nice defensive play that tipped the ball. It was still almost caught in the back of the end zone, I think, by Brady Anderson, but it was incomplete. So Army had to kick the field goal, took it into overtime. It was a miraculous comeback. But what Army needed to do in that North Texas game, a game in which you are absolutely unable to stop North Texas's offense, is you needed to win it in regulation when you had the chance. And I did not feel good about the overtime. And the overtime raised some serious questions that we can talk about tonight. And that is that when Dwayne Coleman went down, Dwayne Coleman came in and played really well and made a lot of great reads and was running the ball really well. But his durability came into question again. And he got hurt picking up a first down in overtime. And
Well, he got a cramp.
well, he still had to come out and he didn't go back in.
He was down on the ground for about a minute. I talked to him. I don't know if it's similar. The injury that he had in the Tarleton State game was a little more serious, but
I don't know. The bottom line, though, is that when Cale Helms came in, I don't fault Cale Helms for the first and second down being loss of yardage plays. I fault the blocking. North Texas had a linebacker running free on the interior on both of those plays, untouched. And as would have expected, tackled for loss. It wouldn't have mattered who was playing quarterback on those plays. They would have been tackled for loss. And it put
that
Cale
was
Helms
on
in
the 2nd and 11 at the 15-yard line. Helms got sacked, loss of 4 by Wazlowski. But boy, that guy came in. You're right. He was unblocked.
on first down. Helms was blocked for a 1-yard loss. The guy who tackled him came in unblocked up the middle, straight up the middle, unblocked.
Well, yeah, those 2 plays did not run well. Starting out at 1st and 10 at the 14, and then only getting down to being faced with a 4th and 5 at the 9. And talking to Cody Worley on the 4th and 5 play, he would have preferred Helms had held on the ball a little longer, and let the play develop a little bit more, see if something opened up. He thought he passed a little bit early in that situation, but you're right. They had a chance to win it in regulation and missed it, and just couldn't keep the momentum. And in the overtime, especially getting 1st and 10 on the 14, just couldn't get. They did a rush for 1-yard loss, rush, sack, 4-yard loss. Helms ran for 10-yard gain, and then setting up the 4th and 5.
Yep.
So it's disappointing. The challenge was that they got the 21-0 hole.
Definitely.
Kale had a real struggling game. He had the pitch out that went awry. He fumbled one. I mean, even on television, I could see he just had one hand on the ball. And then the interception, the defender was right there to step in front and grab it.
Two things about those turnovers. You know, on the first one, Coach Monken did address it, you know, and he rightfully pointed out that, you know, on the Noah Short pitch, Helms had made the wrong read and instead pitched it, and Noah Short wasn't expecting it because the wrong read had been made on the play, and so the ball bounced to the ground and was recovered. On the second play, the only thing I could figure, you know, especially after watching Helms play against Kansas State. I mean, the guy was Mr. Ball Control against Kansas State. But on the play where Helms just fumbled it, he had picked up the first down. It was a short yardage play. I don't think that he realized that he had gotten the line to gain, and he was just trying to extend the ball on his way down to get extra yardage to make sure he got the first down. Now, it was not, in retrospect, it was not a smart thing to do. The ball got knocked out of his hands, and we saw what happened after that. But the last one is the interception. It was almost a backbreaker. Like literally the game was in the precipice of becoming an absolute rout. But on that specific play, there were two things about it. One was bad for Army, and it was bad for Helms, and that is Helms did not look off the receiver. He stared at the receiver the entire play. He just looked the receiver down and threw the ball straight to the receiver. Any defensive back could see where he was going with the ball. The other side, the flip side of that, though, is that the North Texas defender, in my opinion, and I have to preface it with in my opinion, and in the opinion of many people that I was watching the game with, pushed off on the receiver. And it should have been a pass interference call on the play. He literally knocked the Army receiver down to the ground and then intercepted the pass, and not just knocked it down fighting for the ball. He shoved him to the ground, caught the ball, interception. It didn't get called. And it was unfortunate because the whole time we were waiting for the laundry to get dropped in the form of a yellow flag. It didn't, and the interception stuck. And of course, North Texas quickly scored after that on another running play, I might add. And now we're down 28-7. And at that point, Monken made the decision to take Helms out and let him know that he still had confidence in him and be ready because we're going to need to call on you again.
Well, that was a big, obviously, big change in the game. D1 Coleman went in. He did not play against Kansas State, and went in, played very well. Led Army 4 drives that, well, he led 3 drives that went 75 yards. And he had over 100 yards rushing, 118. And he passed 6 of 11 for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So he ran the team very well. We didn't get an announcement on the starting quarterback. I have to imagine D1 Coleman's going to start on Thursday night at East Carolina. But what do you think, Sam?
It really depends on if he's healthy. You know, he was down for a while.
I talked to him after the game. He was in the post game. I asked him. He said he's fine. He was out there practicing today.
Okay, well, I'll just say if Coleman's ready to go, Coleman will start Thursday night. But I do, and you are correct about all. Dwayne Coleman played an incredible game, and he did exactly what he had to do at quarterback at the right time to get Army back in the game. He led a very critical drive before the end of the half for a touchdown. And then when Army received the opening kickoff of the second half, he led the offense down the field to score again. And a game which just a quarter previous looked like it was going to become an absolute rout was now only a touchdown game at 28-21. And Army was back in the game. And Army, like I said, Army consistently moved the ball on every single time they had the ball. They picked up first downs. They gained 387 yards rushing. They gained more yards than North Texas did in the game, which is incredible. You know, if you watched the game and you would never think that when you looked at the final stat sheet that Army actually gained more yards than North Texas. They did. They also won time of possession. But the one thing that turned out to be the real difference maker in this game was the turnover margin. Army lost the turnover battle, and they lost it early on. And that hole just proved to be a bridge too far for them to overcome.
Sam, I think got to add also that the North Texas quarterback had quite a day. Drew Messemaker, 26 of 36, 249 yards and a touchdown. And receiving Miles Coleman, 11 catches for them. Army defense, I thought, was struggling on pass defense. They weren't getting much pressure. And early in the game, North Texas was passing pretty effectively.
Yeah. Well,
So I'll say I talked with Nate Woody today, and he said, what he said was interesting. He said, you got to see if the quarterback is getting rid of the ball in 2 seconds or more. If it's more, then you should really emphasize pass rush. If he's getting it off quick, then you got to be back in pass defense.
yeah.
And so that's a challenge.
Yeah.
Army doesn't have overwhelming defensive linemen.
No.
But they're working on Caleb Fortner. Caleb Fortner is the go-to guy to get in the backfield and make a defensive play for a sack or a tackle for loss.
Yeah,
Hey,
well, it's a real problem. I'll just talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
The biggest reason Nestemeyer had a big game was because Army couldn't stop the run. The reason Williams from Kansas State did not have a big game was because Army was stopping the run. When you do not control the line of scrimmage on defense, when you are not dictating and beating the offensive line and the blockers, then what happens is you now have offensive linemen that are blocking at the second level. Second level means that these offensive linemen are blocking the linebackers and the defensive backs, which means ball carriers are going to be 5 yards downfield before they make first contact. And so as a result, with no control of the line of scrimmage, Army put zero pressure on Nestemeyer. The entire game, they put zero pressure on him. So he could just sit back there like Tom Brady and pick Army apart. And our observation of him is that he's definitely an excellent quarterback. He's really good at short and medium range passing. If you force him into throwing the ball deep, he was not very accurate at all. But as long as he kept it short and medium range, he was picking Army apart. And Army could not get them off of the field at all.
Okay. Chuck Donegan, you were on the sideline for most of the game. Tell us, what was your impression?
Well, Ken, yes, it was quite a game. North Texas, I think, really gave it to Army the first half. No doubt bolstered by that standout performance by Caleb Hawkins for the Mean Green. So they really got ahead in the first half. I think they were starting to turn a tide in the second half, where, they made a valiant effort to come from behind, force the game into overtime. I was hoping they might put it away then, but it didn't happen. It's still an exciting, hard-fought contest, and I certainly hope they'll get them next time.
Yeah. Richard Miller, what was your view watching the game from Florida?
Well, let's see. My takeaway would be you had to finish it off in regulation. I don't think if Army got in overtime, I thought Army was just not going to be able to win. I mean, a valiant comeback, but I mean, in tight situations, finish it up. Try to win the game in regulation, because if it goes to overtime, it kind of gets a little bit more dicey. So I thought if Army was able to finish it off in regulation, they would have been able to win. But unfortunately,
I think Coach Monken would agree with you 100% there, Richard. He was saying, they had their chance.
Yeah,
in a regulation,
and also to reference that play that Sam was talking about the spiking of the ball in that situation. that was certainly one of the factors of the game.
Yeah, Coach Monken, actually, we had a side
Well,
conversation with Coach Monken, and they were really on top of that. And they were looking at what happens if, if you spike it there versus if you run the play, and trying to make sure they had 4 downs to work with, given they only had about 24 seconds left and no timeouts. Okay, now Richard, why don't you quickly take us through what were some of the 5 big games that stood out to you last week in college football?
Okay, some of the 5 biggest games that stood out to me in college football. Okay, from this week on the college football scoreboard, Georgia Tech defeated Clemson 24-21. Clemson is number 12 in the country. They are 1-2 on the season. Number 13, Oklahoma 42-3 over Temple. Oklahoma improves to 3-0 on the season. Let's see. You also have, number 2, Penn State 52-6 over Villanova. Penn State is now 3-0 on the season. By the is this by the way?
I think that's 2 weeks ago, Richard.
I think you're looking at 2 weeks ago, Richard.
Thank you. Okay, so let's see, week 5. Yeah, week 4.
There you
Yes,
go.
we on week 4 right now. Okay, as we still just trying to get to that.
Okay, let's see. We have Chuck. We'll let you have a second, Richard. Chuck, do you have the games last week in the American Athletic Conference?
Yeah, I have quite a few of them right here, Ken. Yeah, there were a few close contests, some not so much. One of them was the Florida State-Kent State contest. Turned out to be no contest. Florida State claiming a 66-10 victory. Yeah, meanwhile, had a similar situation in the Ole Miss versus Tulane game. 45-10 victory for Ole Miss. Yeah, very close in the Michigan-Nebraska game. 30-27 Michigan victory. Yeah, that was definitely one for the ages. And kind of had a battle of the bayou, you might say, with Southeast Louisiana taking on LSU. Ended with a 56-10 LSU victory.
Okay, so anything else in the American Athletic Conference, Chuck?
Let's see, we have here. Also had BYU, East Carolina, 34-13 for BYU.
Okay, obviously we're watching that one.
I think some standout games from the American Athletic Conference are as follows. Memphis beat Arkansas at Arkansas, and this is really important to take note of. Arkansas, of course, is a very big SEC team, a big SEC program. Memphis forced a fumble late in the game as Arkansas was driving for what could have been a game-winning field goal, and Memphis ran the clock out and won the game. But I think that the game that really caught everyone's attention was Tulsa beating Oklahoma State in Stillwater on Friday night, and I watched that game, and it was pretty fabulous. And the residual out of that game is the fact that 20-year head coach of Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy, he of Mullet, was fired. He was released today. He got his walking papers today. So Oklahoma State is now a coaching vacancy. And then Steve Shalhoub last week told us all, hey, pay attention last Thursday night to the Rice-Charlotte game, big AAC matchup of at least one team that Army was going to face this season. And Rice, who now runs a derivative option football, they defeated Charlotte, and they looked pretty good in the process. And Rice just happens to be who Navy is playing this Saturday. And then Chuck did mention the Tulane Ole Miss game, which was another game that Steve Shalhoub was telling us to pay attention to this past weekend to get an idea. If Tulane hung with Ole Miss, it would really bode very difficult for the rest of the AAC to look at Tulane as not being the cream of the crop. Unfortunately, Tulane got ran off the field, which I was actually surprised by that myself.
Okay.
Yeah, Chuck. Richard, go ahead.
Okay, I've got it up now. Some scores this week for this Saturday, September 20th. Number 12, Texas Tech, 34-10 over Utah. UAB losing 56-24. UAB losing 56-24 to number 15 Tennessee. Number 8 Florida State 66-10 over Kent State. Oregon 41-7 over Oregon State, number 6 in the country. And finally, number 7 Oklahoma 24-17 over Auburn.
Okay, very good.
Controversial play in that Oklahoma-Auburn game. Oklahoma scored their game-winning touchdown, pulling an Army lonesome end type of play, which is now illegal in NCAA. They had a wide receiver who stood along the sideline in the field of play while Oklahoma was in huddle, and Auburn did not even pay attention to the fact the guy was still on the field. And then when the ball was snapped, he ran uncovered into the end zone for the winning touchdown.
Well, Sam, I vividly remember Tyson Riley doing that in the Navy game up in Foxborough at the end of the first half. What are you saying the ruling is on
the difference with that play was that, let me just make sure I point out the difference in that play is that Army went to the huddle. Tyson Riley was in the huddle, and he went up and lined up as wide receiver before the ball was snapped. Navy had confusion on the defense trying to get into position when the ball was snapped. And as it was, they did not have a guy who ran out to cover Tyson Riley. So that's a big difference. What Oklahoma did is they had 10 men in the huddle while the wide receiver stood along the sideline the entire time. He didn't go to the huddle. And my understanding of the rules is that's illegal, but it didn't get called, and he didn't get covered, and he scored a touchdown, and that turned out to be the difference in the game. And I bring it up because—
What if he didn't do Sam, what if he didn't do a huddle?
Well, if it's a no huddle offense, that's different. Because the quarterback is calling plays from the audible. But if you go into huddle, all the players have got to go into the huddle. Because what happens is you notice how when a referee will call timeout, do a official timeout to make sure that the offense and defense can substitute, right? Well, in this case, this would have been a situation where the offense was making it appear as though they had 11 people on the field in the huddle, and they didn't. And, for all intents and purposes, it looked like the wide receiver had left the game. So it was a trick play that was either bending or breaking the rules pretty badly, but it stood because it didn't get called. But I noticed that there's a big controversy right now that SEC officiating has already protested that game and said that the play should be null and that Oklahoma should forfeit for having run an illegal play. It's not going to happen, but that's what came about. So, and of course, I'm here in Alabama, where you're either an Auburn fan or an Alabama fan. So it's a big controversy down here.
Okay. Thank you, Sam, for that point. Okay, so let's go. Anyone have the update on Navy and Air Force?
Yeah.
Yeah, Navy had a bye week this past week.
Let's see. Air Force. Let's see.
Air Force lost to Boise State. I think the final was 49-37.
Close one.
Air Force Boise State.
Okay.
Yes.
I believe that was the final. It was at Air Force, but I did not actually see the game. I did watch some highlights of the game afterward. I was keeping track of the game on Stat Tracker. I wasn't near a TV at the time the game was on, but I was keeping track of it on Stat Tracker just to follow it, just to take interest in our fellow service academies. And Boise State was they were beating Air Force pretty good, but Air Force battled back into the game. And there was a silver lining for Air Force in this game. Now that I've gone back and I've looked at the stats as well as watching the highlights, and that is Navy's starting quarterback got yanked, and they put in a yearling named Liam Zarka.
You mean Air Force, right? Air Force
did. Air Force yanked their quarterback, their starting quarterback, and they put in a guy named Liam Zarka, who's had some snaps this season, but he hasn't been the starter. The guy turned into Air Force's equivalent of Horvath. I mean, he literally lit up Boise State for 246 yards passing and 110 yards rushing. And he didn't play perfect. He did throw an interception, but he really had the best game of an Air Force quarterback this season. And Air Force's defense on the flip side, though, is atrocious. And they have been routinely giving up more than 40 points a game and
Crazy.
a lot of yardage. But
Okay.
it does appear that they may have found their quarterback for the future. And I have a prediction that Army is going to be seeing a lot of Liam Zarka come the first Saturday of November.
What year in school is he, do you think? Yeah,
He's
sophomore.
a yearling. He's a yearling. Yeah, sophomore.
Sophomore. Okay. Okay. Very good. Well, let's switch into the upcoming week and maybe Chuck Donegan, you could go through the games of the American Athletic Conference and the two service academies.
You bet, Ken. Quite a few good matchups coming up for the upcoming weekend. Yes, so definitely want to set your DVRs again. Got quite a few of them. USC, Illinois, 12 noon.
Okay, let's try
Notre-
see, Chuck, see if you can go through the American Athletic Conference, the AAC. Yeah.
Okay. Yep, we have Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, also 12 noon. Notre Dame, Arkansas, also 12 noon. Looking ahead, Ohio State, Washington, 3:30. LSU, Ole Miss, also 3:30. Indiana, Iowa, 3:30. Tennessee, Mississippi State, 4:15. Yeah, Oregon, Penn State, 7:30.
Very good. Now let's see if Richard can do it. Richard, can you look up the American Athletic Conference games for this weekend? I guess we're in weekend 5. Is that possible?
Football,
Yeah,
ACC
to believe.
football,
Just pull up the conference.
Let's see. Their schedule according. Wait, did I say? I
The
meant to say
AAC, American
yes.
Athletic Conference.
AAC,
Yes,
American
AAC.
Athletic Conference. There you go.
I typed in ACC.
No, AAC.
Yes,
AAC.
no, AAC. Yeah, Army is going to be at East Carolina. That will be 7:30 on Thursday. South Alabama will be taking on North Texas. That will be a 12 noon start. Rice will be at Navy. That will be at a 3:30 game. Also, Tulane and Tulsa. That's a 4 o'clock game. Florida Atlantic and Memphis 7 o'clock at night. Let's see. You also have Charlotte taking on South Florida. That will be, oh, actually, that will be next week. So I think that. Let's see. Are there any other college football conference yet? So I know that's
Okay, very good.
Yeah, I think those are actually the only 4 games.
Okay, and where are Navy and Air Force playing this week?
Navy's playing Rice at Navy. And
Okay.
Air Force is playing Hawaii at Air Force.
Oh, okay. Okay, very good. Okay, very good. Sam, what are your thoughts on what Army's going to have to do against East Carolina short week? Nate Woody said he's going to keep it simple, let the team play fast and let them play. What do they have to do? And your thought on the quarterback situation?
Sure. Well, bottom line, what do they have to do? They have to win. And how do they do that? Well, first, no turnovers. Second, limit penalties and mistakes. Third, on offense, control the line of scrimmage, control time of possession, score touchdowns, not field goals, maintain ball discipline, ball awareness, and keep East Carolina's defense on their heels for all 4 quarters. On defense, stop the run. First, stop the run, and stop the run, and stop the run. Control the line of scrimmage. Do not allow East Carolina blockers into the second level so that Army's linebackers can effectively roam and rush. Put pressure on the quarterback. Hauser is the same quarterback they had last year. He knows Army. He's a pretty good quarterback. He had a couple of plays that I know he wants back from the BYU game. ECU was driving in the first half, and they were inside the red zone, and he threw a very bad read interception that killed the drive. And then a short time later, ECU had the ball on their own, inside their own 5-yard line, driving out of their own end zone, and he threw a very bad read pick six, which was very critical to them falling behind early. But he knows Army, and he did lead a very furious attempted comeback in the game last year when ECU was at West Point. But again, control the line of scrimmage, stop the run, put pressure on the quarterback, and for goodness sake, do not turn the ball over. Then it comes to special teams. Cannot make a special team mistake. And I've got a little bold prediction about this Thursday's game. If you recall last season, by this time of the season, we had already seen Army's special teams attempt 3 different trick plays, whether on punt or on place kicking. And I have a feeling that this week we just might see a bag of tricks come out for Army special teams on either a punting or a place kicking situation. So I'm sure that Coach Monken is going to go into this game playing to win and win in regulation and put the foot on the pedal, keep it there, and do not let it up. Put East Carolina down, get ahead of them early, get big ahead of them, stay that way, and keep their offense off the field. These are all keys to victory, but the bottom line about what Army has got to do Thursday night is they have got to win the game. One more loss in the AAC, and their defense of the AAC championship from last season is pretty much over.
Well, I did talk to Coach Monken tonight after practice, kind of just a short chat more than anything else. He wants to win. I'll tell you that. He wants to win this game very badly. He didn't take the last loss, North Texas. In fact, after the game, he's saying he thought they were going to win it. He thought they were going to find a way to win it. It just didn't happen. But they came awful close. But they've got the team ready. One thing I asked Coach Monken about a little bit was the analytics, and because he mentioned it a bit in looking at what to do, and he said they obviously use it for the fourth down decisions, but they use it on such special situations too. And he says over 100 of the 136 teams in college football bowl division using it, but he says it does help. I'm just wondering when AI is going to take over more of the influence in college football.
Yeah,
and we'll see what happens. I'm wondering when schools are going to, and offensive coordinators are going to start having their first draft of their game plan by AI, and then tweak it along the way. We'll see. Okay, let's go to our lightning round and wrap up, and let's give Chuck Donegan the first chance to predict Army's game, final score, Army at East Carolina.
All right. I
do you
think
think,
this is
Chuck?
going to be another close one, Ken, but I think Army will pull it off with a final 28-21.
28-21. Okay, no field goals. I did talk to Dawson Jones today, the Army place kicker, who had a fourth quarter field goal made in each of the last 2 games.
Oh, yeah.
Clutch would be the word. In fact,
Yep.
we have the interview up on a Twitter account. Okay, and let's go to Richard Miller.
Oh, I'm going to go Army 28-21. Same score. No, don't worry about the kicking game. Army's going to pull a win here.
Okay, so you're going to split the winnings with Chuck.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and let's go. Do we have Stephanie on board, able to pipe in?
Yeah. So unfortunately, as much as I want Army to win, a lot of it is not in their favor, especially if we start to play just like we did for the first game. I don't want to predict it, but I'm predicting North Carolina, East Carolina winning. Um, I don't think it's going to be a huge margin, kind of like going into overtime with the first game and the last game. But there has to be a lot of changes. So, I'm thinking it's going to be like a 3-point game, between
Okay.
roughly around Chuck's and Richard's score, but I think it's going to be 3 points, not down to a field goal or
Okay,
and a
we need
touchdown.
a score. Stephanie, we need a score.
21-24.
So, it's gonna be East Carolina 24 and Army 21.
Unfortunately, I am hoping
Okay.
wrong because I love our team, but
Okay,
there's a
well,
lot.
you're being honest. Being honest. Okay. Let's go to Sam Houston, class of 87. What you're thinking, Colonel?
First, I can completely understand where Stephanie's coming from, given the performance, the on-field performance of this year's Army team. Army has had 2 quarters this season where they've had meltdowns. The fourth quarter of the Tarleton State game, where they committed 3 turnovers and let Tarleton State tie the ball game up. And the first quarter of the North Texas game this past weekend. And as it turns out, Army lost both of those games in either overtime or double overtime. But if you look at the record of those 2 teams right now, the combined record of Tarleton State and North Texas is 9-0. So these are undefeated teams. So Army did not have meltdowns against teams that are mediocre. And when they had the opportunity to go into a Big 12 home field, they played the game of their lives. And all throughout this season, Army has shown flashes of how good they can be. And at times they've played 4 quarters as the team that they can be, a la Kansas State. I personally believe that Kansas State, albeit their record, is a better team than East Carolina. And the Army team definitely has confidence to believe they can go into East Carolina and win. So I don't think that there's a jitters factor going on here. But in the Monken era, Monken's number one emphasis on offensive play is ball security. And the 2 games where they have committed 6 turnovers combined is unheard of in the last 8 years of Monken football. It just is unheard of. And I can guarantee you that in the past few days of practice, Army has had their ball carriers and their quarterbacks and their receivers getting back to the basics on ball security. I do not think that Army is going to turn the ball over this coming Thursday night. And this is very important to my prediction. Likewise, the defense got embarrassed by North Texas, absolutely embarrassed. They got torched. They got torched at every aspect of the game, and they know they did. But they know that they can beat any team thanks to what happened against Kansas State and the fact that they did battle their way back into the North Texas game and had a chance to win in the end. So all that being said, East Carolina does not have any more time to prepare for this game than Army did. East Carolina has not had a bye week. East Carolina did not have a bye for this game. East Carolina played a later game on Saturday than Army. They played a very tough BYU team that hit them pretty hard and roughed them up pretty good. They're going to come with pride, but so is Army. And I don't know for sure. We'll know Thursday night definitely who walks out to be the starting quarterback. But regardless of who starts at quarterback, I do believe Army is going to be locked in for 4 quarters, and Army is going to win the game. I do predict a trick play at some point from special teams, so watch for it. But I believe Army is going to be locked in, ready to play. East Carolina is who's going to be turning the ball over. Army is not going to get down early. They're not, if they do get down, they're not going to get down by 21 points like they did against North Texas. And Army's going to win the game. And I believe that the final score is going to be Army 35 and East Carolina 24.
35-24 from Colonel Sam Houston. Okay, thank you, Colonel. Yeah, boy, East Carolina, they were so upset at their performance here at Mikey Stadium last year. Their coach got fired the next week, and an interim coach came in, Blake Harrell. He led them to 5 wins the rest of the year, including a bowl win over North Carolina, which was pretty good for them.
North Carolina State.
Oh, was it North Carolina State? Okay.
Yes, it was. Yep.
Okay. So he's got them playing well. They, as you said, Sam, they lost to North Carolina State in the opening game, beat Campbell, beat Coastal Carolina decidedly 38-0,
Yeah.
and then lost, as you said, 34-13 to BYU at home. A lot of it's going to depend on kind of like which Army team appears. Is it the one that played against Kansas State, or the one that struggled against North Texas? Part of that's the quarterback. I think Dwayne Coleman's going to get the start, and I think he's over whatever happened in the opening game against Charlton. I think he's learned from that. Is going to make sure that doesn't happen again. So I think Army could be led very effectively. Briggs Bartow is running the ball well. Hayden Reed, Dwayne Coleman's passing the ball well, and you got another big player at wide receiver in Brady Anderson.
Mhm.
We all knew about Noah Short going into the season,
Yep.
but now you got Brady Anderson, and he's forces the defense to take Army's passing game seriously. We talked a little bit with Brady Small this week. He's all set. He's a rock of Gibraltar in the middle. So I think Army's going to prevail as well. I think they desperately want to win. And they're good at playing on the road. They won at Kansas State, so going into East Carolina and Greenville, North Carolina, it's about an hour east of Raleigh. It's not going to phase them at all. So I will go with, I think it's going to be 24-14. I'll go for 24-14. Okay, so Stephanie's one dissenter on the night, and we'll see who is right on Saturday. Looking forward to going down there. Colonel, are you going to the game?
No, I'm not. Again, that's a Thursday night game, so
Yeah,
that logistically just not going to happen. And
I know some people have to work on Friday.
yeah, I'm actually going to be traveling Friday up to Minnesota, where Stephanie and I are going to go
Okay.
visit the time-honored Minnesota Renaissance Festival.
Very
Nice.
nice, very nice. Well, you will enjoy that. But I appreciate everybody participating. We've got Richard Miller in Florida. Richard, thank you.
Always a pleasure, Ken. Thank you.
Okay, and we've got Chuck Donegan out of Long Island. Chuck, thank you.
My pleasure, Ken.
Okay, and as Colonel Sam Houston from the class of '87 down in Huntsville, Alabama. Colonel, thank you, and always a pleasure. We've got Stephanie running the board for us out of Minnesota. Stephanie, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, very good. I know you had to overcome some logistical challenges tonight, but
It's
we're making it happen. And then I'm Ken Kraetzer. I have the pleasure of being in the Army Hall of Fame area at Mikey Stadium. I always appreciate being able to do our show from here. And I will take, I never miss a chance to stop by and see the Heisman trophies that are part of the Army Hall of Fame area. So again, so we'll be out in Greenville on Thursday night to watch for our reports on Twitter and on YouTube. We'll have some of the pregame activity, and then we'll also have hopefully live coverage of the postgame with the Army players and Coach Monk, and hopefully with smiles on postgame. So thank you all. Thanks for watching. And this is Ken Kraetzer for CaMMVetsmedia. We cover cadetsmanship in the military and veterans proudly. since 2008. Thanks for watching.